Everyone, and first what we will have is the swearing in. If everyone would go up, please, to the front. With your-
I'm not even gonna touch that.
Is this the long and the short of it?
Seems like a setup right there. That's it. Okay, if you will all raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, your name,
Mickey Hinman,
do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Delaware,
the Constitution of the State of Delaware,
and the Charter and ordinances of the Town of Bethany Beach.
and the Charter and ordinances of the Town of Bethany Beach.
During my term,
During my term,
I will faithfully and impartially discharge
impartially discharge
the responsibilities of the office to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you to the previous council members for their service.
Bruce and Faith.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Congratulations, Lou.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thanks, Charlie.
I wanted to congratulate our two new council members and welcome them, Mickey Hinman and Ron Califf. And welcome back, Lou. And Jerry's oath of
sound like a
office
TV
was
show.
still in effect, so he didn't have to go through it again. And I also want to recognize and thank Faith Denault and Bruce for their great service over the past couple of years. And it's been, Bruce and I came on the council together many years ago. So thank you very much for being here. On behalf of all of us on council, I'd like to say that we're privileged to begin another year together in our service to the citizens of the town of Bethany Beach. So for the record, council members Patrick Shepley and Scott Edmondson are excused. And also with us today are our town manager, Cliff Gravier, our town clerk, Molly Daisy, Will Wharton, our IT director, and our building inspector, Susan Frederick, who is sitting in the back. Before we begin, a couple of people have asked me why this organizational meeting is held on Monday, the third Monday, and not the third Friday, as all of our other meetings are. And contrary to public opinion, it's not to confuse people, but it's actually contained in our charter. As you know, the charter requires that we have our council election on the Saturday after Labor Day, and then it also provides that a period of at least 7 days has to elapse before we can hold the next council meeting, and 7 days would have been last Saturday, so today's the first time we could hold it. All right, would everybody stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, first item on the agenda is approval of the agenda, and I'd like to ask council to please, somebody make a motion to approve the agenda, but with the addition of one item, and that is an announcement.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, and this is the announcement. As you know, Labor Day has come and gone, and that is the official end of our summer season here in Bethany Beach. We now begin our shoulder seasons, as they're called. And on behalf of the town council, the citizens of Bethany Beach, and all of our visitors and businesses, I would like to acknowledge and recognize the outstanding job done by Mr. Cliff Gravier and our town staff this year in making this truly a wonderful summer, fun summer, and the first one after COVID. So despite its challenges, I think everyone came off having a safe summer and a wonderful one. So thank you, Mr. Gravier.
Thank you, Mayor, but it's all the staff, and as you know, I sleep most of the day, and
I know you
and-
sleep
and I'm-
most of the
and I'm
day,
not
yes.
there very much, but they do a great job, and we're
do.
very, very, very
Yeah.
fortunate.
Thank
So,
you, thank you. Anybody want to say anything? Okay, yes.
Well, I'd like to say,
Oh, into the mic, Ron.
reiterate, your staff is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, from the people that take care of the flowers, I've gotten to know a lot of them, and the police and, you know, Public Works. I don't know where you get all these people, but you've got a fantastic staff.
We do. We are very, very fortunate here to have built over the years a really dedicated staff, and fortunate to bring on people that continue that tradition. So it's I don't have to do much. I can just look good. So
Mayor, I'd just like to add one thing, just in, in addition to that. It's not just what they do, it's how they do it. I think you mentioned that, Ron. It's, as you interact with the team, whether it's the folks picking up the garbage, whether it's the folks in the flowers, whether it's anything, the policemen, everybody is so upbeat, positive, respectful, professional, and it's really just very heartwarming to see that, and it speaks to the leadership of the entire team.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
And this summer almost didn't happen the way it did. We had that Mother's Day storm, and it wiped out the whole beach up and down the coast and every dune crossover. And if it wasn't for a Public Works Department getting out there, they restored almost immediately 7 crossovers. And then the others couldn't be reestablished because of the way they're constructed. But luckily, we're going to have beach replenishment, and so the United States Army Corps of Engineers allowed DENREC to make parallel pathways as you see them cutting into the dunes there. And then Public Works, of course, put up the railings there to protect people from going down. So I think we owe them a debt of gratitude for that, too. And there are also people I like to acknowledge who work behind the scenes. You see the public faces out there, but you don't see the people like who work in IT here, Susan Frederick, our building inspector, people in finance, people in administration. We have people all over who do such an incredible job behind the scenes, and they don't look for taking credit for it, but they sure make this town run very smoothly and make it the family-friendly town that it is. So I think we're very blessed to have them all. Thank you, Mr. Gravier.
thank you.
Okay. Okay, now we're on to the meeting. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the ground rules. I think everyone has received a copy. Do I have a motion to approve them?
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion? Any clarification? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. The next is a summary and any discussion or clarification of the responsibilities of the Secretary-Treasurer, the Vice Mayor, or the Mayor. These do not have to be approved because they are in the town charter, but we would be happy to answer any questions or clarify anything that doesn't make sense. Okay, we're on to it now. Okay, the next item is nominations and selection by the council of the persons to fill the responsibilities of the Secretary-Treasurer, Vice Mayor, and Mayor. First, the nomination selection of the mayor, and this does not require a second. Are there any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Rosemary Hardiman to continue to be our mayor of the town of Bethany Beach.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and thank you very much.
I guess.
Oh, no, we have a great team, and I look forward to working another year with all of you and to welcoming our 2 new members, too. Thank you. Okay, now on to Vice Mayor. Are there nominations for Vice Mayor?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Lou Kilmer as the Vice Mayor of Bethany Beach.
Okay, are there any other nominations? Okay, hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? None? Congratulations, and
Thank
thank you,
you.
Mr. Keenan. Next, we have the Secretary-Treasurer. Are there any nominations for Secretary-Treasurer?
Yes, I have the honor of nominating Councilman Jerry Morris again, for Secretary Treasurer.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Another one.
Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Congratulations, Mr. Morris. Thank you. All right, next is to set the dates and times for town council meetings. Would someone like to make a motion?
Yes, I'd like to move that we continue to hold our regular town council meetings on the third Friday of each month at 2 p.m.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Okay, the next item on the agenda is discussion, consideration, and possible vote on appointments to the Planning and Zoning Commission. And as you know, the Planning and Zoning Commission is an independent body, and an elected official cannot be a voting member of the commission. However, the town code provides that a person who holds the town elective office as well as the town building inspector will be ex officio members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. So with that in mind, I would like to have a motion, I recommend and would like a motion that we reappoint as council liaison to the Planning and Zoning Commission, Scott Edmondson. He's done a very fine job last year, and I think I would recommend that we reappoint him this year. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that Scott Edmondson continues as the liaison for the Planning and Zoning Commission for the town.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Next is discussion, consideration, and possible vote on appointment to the Board of Adjustment. And as you know, the Board of Adjustment, no member of the town council is permitted to serve on the Board of Adjustment. It's an independent body. It comes under the state code. And so Mr. Califf here he is presently on the Board of Adjustment, and his term expires next year on October 18th, 2023. So I would like to recommend that we appoint Len Kidwell to fulfill his unexpired term on the Board of Adjustment. Mr. Kidwell, you have his background there. He had previously been on the board, and Mr. Muskegon gave him a very high recommendation. Mr. Kidwell went off for a period of time because of other commitments, but he said that he would like to serve again. So with that, I'd ask for a motion to approve.
I move that Glenn Kidwell be appointed to the position on the Board of Adjustment.
A second?
Seconded.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Okay, next we have two appointments to the, to the board, another appointment to the Board of Adjustment, and that would be Vaughn Muskegon, who has served extremely well. He served exemplary service for the past 10 or so years there, has said that he doesn't want to be reappointed to another 3-year term, and he has resigned effective this past month. So we have two things here. He has an unexpired term until October 18, 2022, and then, so I would like to nominate Rich McHugh to fill that unexpired term. Mr. McHugh has been interviewed by Mike Loftus, who is presently on the Board of Adjustment. He thinks he would be a very good candidate, despite the fact that he's an attorney. So, but he does have a very good background, and Mr. Loftus thinks he would make a fine addition to the Board of Adjustment. So I would like to nominate him to fill Vaughn Muskegon's unexpired term, and also a second motion regarding him, that when his term is up on October 18th next month, we don't meet again until October 21st, so I would like to also move that we appoint him to his own 3-year term after that, which would expire October 18th, 2022. Do I have a motion?
Is this two motions or one?
I'm going to make it one.
All right.
Yeah, is that okay?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fine. I
okay.
just clarification.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Vaughn Mushegan? is that
Oh,
his
no.
name?
No, Rick
sorry,
McHugh.
Rich
Rich McHugh.
McHugh, I'm
Rich
sorry.
McHugh.
Rich McHugh, for the unexpired term to October 18, 2022, and following that for his, a full term on the board.
Thank you very much. Is there a second?
Second.
Any,
I'm sorry.
any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Okay, the next item, on the agenda. Discussion, consideration, and possible vote on committee chair appointments. We have a number of standing committees, and these are the appointments that I'm recommending to the town council. First, the Audit Committee, Chuck Peterson. Budget and Finance, Jerry Morris. Charter and Ordinance Review, Rosemary Hardeman. Cultural and Historical Affairs, Carol Olmsted. 4th of July Parade Committee, Bruce Fry. Non-Residential Design Review, Lou Kilmer. Bicycle and Pedestrian Safety, Mickey Hinman. Stormwater and Flooding, Ron Califf. And Telecommunications, Patrick Shepley. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that all the members you have mentioned for the various committee chairs be approved.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, none opposed, okay. Now we get into the meat of this meeting. The next item on the agenda is discussion, consideration, and possible vote on scheduling a public hearing regarding changes to Section 425-27 regarding residential stormwater management as recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission. And also, can we put these two together, Mr. Gravier?
Please.
Yeah, okay. The next item, we're going to put these both together because they're related. Discussion, consideration, and possible vote on scheduling a public hearing regarding changes to Section 425-2 definitions as recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission. By way of background, the council held a hearing on these two proposed amendments, which had been sent forth by the Planning and Zoning Commission back in April. And then we considered them at a May meeting and sent them back to Planning and Zoning for additional consideration. And today, our building inspector, Susan Frederick, will give us a summary and overview and answer any questions or clarifications that would be needed. Thank you.
Good morning. I don't know if you got the diagrams. Did you get copies?
No.
I think in explaining this might help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I wonder how many cartridges they want for this thing.
Thanks.
Susan, out of curiosity, how many ink cartridges did you go through?
A lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. I think taking the second one first, the changes to Section 425-2 definitions, there were no changes by the Planning Commission regarding these two definitions. There were two. One for natural area that states that portion of the lot that is dedicated to either trees, grass, flowers, bushes, other plantings, and/or mulched areas. Mulched areas shall be limited to vegetative ground cover only and not clamshells, decorative stone, or other similar hard materials. Pervious materials are materials that permit water to enter the ground by virtue of their porous nature or by their design using spaces in the installation of the material to allow water infiltration. Examples of permitted pervious materials include sand, gravel, shells, and when installed per current industry standards or guidelines, permeable pavers, pervious concrete, and porous asphalt. So those were already pending and were not changed. The second section changes to Section 425-27, which are exterior design guidelines. they did make some changes. The original pending ordinance stated just that all ground covering was limited to pervious materials and limited to 45%. This is where these little pictures come in. The first one you see, if you look at the top, these are just 5,000 square foot lots. These were prepared by one of the Planning Commission, and this is what 45% ground coverage looks like. Once they looked at this, they realized that was quite a lot of coverage of the lot, and not what was, I guess, intended. So what has been done is they looked at several other percentages of ground cover and ultimately decided or determined that what they would like to see most is a ground coverage not to exceed 30%, which would be the third page. And they came up with some changes to the language and a chart relating options for pervious and non-pervious to allow for more natural area if you determined to go for non-pervious materials. So the language for this section C was changed to state, ground covering permitted on residential lots. In all residential districts, except for natural areas, all open-air ground covering, including but not limited to new and substantially improved driveways, parking areas, walkways, at-grade decks, and patios, shall not exceed the maximum ground coverage as shown in the table below. Substantially improved shall mean an existing ground coverage is to be more than 50% replaced or repaired or resurfaced. Ground covering shall be limited to the following. This is where they then made a chart, and it starts with option 1 is all pervious materials are used. There's a permitted ground covering limited to 30% of the lot area and no non-pervious. The chart also has, besides pervious and non-pervious, there is a line item for pools and spas just to take them out of that equation. And that was limited across the board at, I believe, 4%. At a 30%, that allowed for 1,500 square feet of ground coverage. Option 2 allows for both pervious and non-pervious with a maximum lot coverage of 20%, or 1,000 square feet. And option 3, if they wanted to do all non-pervious, a concrete driveway or patios, was limited to 15%, which is 750 square feet on a typical 5,000 square foot lot. The diagrams I give you sort of an idea, with the black being sort of the outline of a possible home, and then what this ground coverage would look like. And as it goes from 30 to 20 to 15, what happens is you'll see that there is a lot more natural area allowable when you use non-pervious. And any questions?
Any questions? You know, I was at the meeting on Saturday, and I think you had given a definition of what you consider the pool area. But there was some discussion about that.
Well, originally, I think that Mark, and I'm going to butcher his last name, Bauernhuber,
Yeah.
I believe, had developed these, and he had put that in with a different category. And I thought that, I think he put it in with not impermeable or impermeable, which left it kind of taking up natural area, which I didn't think was the intent. So we tried to find a percentage to allow for that, separate from everything else, if you wanted to have a pool or spa, since they're becoming quite popular.
And what did you, I thought you
I
had said
think we came up
something-
with
what you
4%
consider
because
pool.
it allowed for, oh, now I'm gonna forget what that came out to. But it came, 4%, I don't know, I'd have to do the math, but it came out to like 100 or 200 square feet or something like that. That was allowable for the pool and the coping.
Okay, that was it. Thank you. Ron?
Yeah, I have a couple of comments. I think everything kind of defines it very well. I agree with it. The definitions of pervious and natural area, I think, come across quite well. We see so many lots in town that are covered with stone, for instance, or I mean, they do introduce the pervious element here in terms of stone and pavement areas which allow water to go through. I guess my only concern would be mulched areas. I have seen, and in fact have one that's right next door to me, where there is what's called impervious landscape fabric, which is put underneath the mulch. And that kind of eliminates the effect of anything flowing through the mulch. I'm wondering if that can be addressed in here, and it might be by just inserting where we're saying and/or mulched areas, say, continue that and say, without impervious landscape fabric. That's under the natural area.
Yeah, I think that could be added. I have no problem with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of people do,
Yeah, I think you make a good point, because the fact that that kind of fabric is basically just a weed barrier.
it is,
Yeah,
exactly.
and that's all it's for. And because of that, it's like, why don't you just, nothing can go through it, so it just pools on the surface. So you defeat the whole purpose. Even though it looks like it's pervious, it's not.
Exactly.
So the purpose here today
Yeah.
is essentially to schedule the public hearing.
Yeah.
After the public hearing, the council will have an opportunity to have input on definitions and changes. And I hope everybody really does take a deep dive
Yes.
into this, takes a look at the real need in this community for this, and takes into consideration what the water table is, that the water table is tidal water, and what we're really trying to do here as we make people, really in some cases, take some drastic steps, expensive steps, to comply with this ordinance. So I'm hoping that occurs sometime here between, you all have an opportunity to think about that before the October meeting and really have a real deep discussion about this.
And I would point out, in the first, I thought they had a purpose statement when they first sent it to us in the spring, and the purpose was to promote better stormwater management on lots. So that doesn't necessarily always have to be done in certain ways either.
Yes, I mean, our stormwater problem is tidal,
Right.
and it's not really runoff. So again, there's some things I think the council should consider as it moves forward. I understand the planning commission's intent, but that'll be for the October meeting.
And don't we have a separate study going on at the same time?
Yes, right now we have McCormick Taylor commissioned to give us an overarching report and recommendations to the town and planning on how to manage stormwater, including runoff. And that should give us maybe some other ideas on how to deal with the pervious and impervious surfaces. And at the same time, we're exploring with a company that does geological borings, having a comprehensive study of the entire town to look at the geology of what we're sitting on, to see, again, how relevant all this might be to this community and its specific geography and geology.
Susan, two questions, really. One, you had mentioned the follow-up to some work that was done, I think in South Carolina?
Yes,
Is that the,
the same company that created that mega report is doing something like that for the town. Our hope is to get an insert much like the one that was created for residential design and that's inserted in our code today, with maybe some visuals and some really more ideas and more thought than just, pervious or impervious, other things that can be done to help with the problem and maybe better identify what the problem really is. But again, that'll be our October discussion. So.
And I've provided Mr. Hinman and Mr. Califf with a copy of the comments that were received after the last hearing, as well as those from McCormick Taylor about definitions. So that will be something, too, that you might want to take a look at before that meeting.
Right. The other thing, the proposed changes that we're talking about really are for changes going forward, right? For construction going forward, or does it involve any retrofitting of, retrofitting is probably the wrong word, but,
It's for going forward. Unless you do, if you have a driveway and you're going to replace 50% of it, then it would count on that project as well.
Yes.
So it's any major repairs plus going forward, any new work.
okay.
So you live in Bethany West, and your blacktop driveway is deteriorated, you want to replace it. You'll be bound by this,
Right,
so.
okay.
And I would also point out that according to our ordinances, that whenever the town council acts to schedule a hearing, that the ordinance that's being scheduled, the zoning ordinance, becomes a pending ordinance, and Mrs. Frederick will have to enforce this during the interim.
Right.
It takes the place of the one that was in effect right now.
Good.
So, yes.
You know, one thing we might look at is, this is only affecting, new changes. So maybe some sort of educational approach to reach some of the existing homeowners who have existing conditions that may spur them on to do something to their own lots, which happen to exist as a means of improving their situation in terms of pervious.
That's a good point. I think what Mr. Gravier is referring to, whatever McCormick Taylor comes up with as well, people are welcome to change their own property if they want to do it that way, existing
And
homes.
so the hope is we create a piece of legislation that looks at the issue of stormwater management in a number of areas. But I think as part of that, I don't think it would be a big reach or a large ask of McCormick Taylor to ask them to put together a list of best practices as they create that. So we'll do that.
That's a good idea, thank you. Now, how many days do we need for a hearing from, it would be scheduled today, but do we just make a
We'll be in compliance to have the hearing the day of the council meeting.
Okay. Oh, the day of the council meeting, okay. Okay,
So we would look at scheduling at 1 o'clock the day of the council
yes,
meeting?
yeah. Okay, and so we don't need a motion for that, it's already scheduled, right?
It is already on the schedule, yes.
Okay.
But
all
you might as well motion it just to make sure we've dotted
Okay.
the I and crossed the T.
Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion that we hold the hearing on these two pieces of legislation the same day as our next council meeting, which I believe is what, October 19th, 17th?
What is it, Molly? 21st.
21st?
At 1 o'clock.
At 1 o'clock. Does anyone want to make that motion?
I'll make a motion that we schedule the meeting for the public hearing for these 2 points at 1 o'clock on October the 21st?
Yes.
21st.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much, Mrs. Frederick.
Thank you, Susan.
The next item on the agenda is discussion, consideration, and possible vote on a contract from Peninsula Pave and Seal, LLC, for the town's annual pavement rehabilitation project for the amount of $531,781. Mr. Gravier.
Mayor, our most expensive piece of infrastructure in the community are our streets. And we, on a regular basis, every few years, have an analysis done of all the streets and what streets require paving. And our engineer then prioritizes what needs work and what doesn't. And we generally attack maintaining our streets that way. We have not for 2 years, mainly because of COVID and issues related to that and getting bids back, not done repaving. So we have really a larger project here than we normally have. It's a $531,000 project, and it deals with 25 different streets and cul-de-sacs. You have a list of that. Later today, pending this being approved, we'll put this up on the homepage and make it a feature article, and we'll list the streets that are going to be repaired. and you have that list of the 25 different locations. This year, we put out this project to bid. We received only 3 bids back, and they range from $531,000 to $811,000. There was somebody that was really was hoping, I guess, you know. So the bid I recommend here that you have the purchase order from is Peninsula Paving for the 25 streets. It's $531,781.00. Thank you. To Peninsula Paving, we have done work with Peninsula Paving before. They are well-established here in the area. The high bid was Mumford Miller at $811. The second lowest bid was Adel Construction at $554,000. So, Mayor, a motion to move forward with that.
Do I have a motion?
Seconded.
We have a motion. I make a motion that we accept the contract for $531,781 for the paving with the 25 things listed on the scope of work. And it was a contract to Peninsula Paving.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? I noticed that it says here that it's grant funded.
These are the ARPA monies.
It's what?
The ARPA monies.
So
the
this is all taken
640,
care of?
So that this is taken care of, but those are the monies we expended on COVID
Yeah.
that have come back to us through ARPA. So these are grant monies that will cover this entire expenditure.
So there's no expense to the taxpayer?
No expense for this project. to the
Taxpayer.
taxpayer.
So even though we have money in the budget under normal circumstances, we don't have to use that.
We've decided to use ARPA for this because it's probably the cleanest thing for us to do and the easiest to report with. So that was our decision. That was the basis for that. So
Is any municipal street aid in this too?
there's some municipal street aid in this.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. The next item on the agenda is discussion, consideration, and possible vote on a contract from the Kircher Group for inspection services for the 2022 paving project in the amount of $50,000. Mr. Gravier.
This is the engineering firm that does the street analysis for us. They also do on-site oversight of the entire project. It's a real benefit to us, and we've found things that they corrected during the project that have been a big savings for us and have helped us moving forward, maintain the streets the way we're used to maintaining them. This is not out of line. It's just roughly 10% of the cost for their on-site inspections, and this is to Kircher Group, and it's a sole source to Kircher for $50,000.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion. I make a motion that we approve the contract from Kircher Group for the inspection services for the 2022 paving project for the amount of $50,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Caleb. Any discussion?
Yeah, Cliff, I thought Kircher was no longer involved, that company was bought out.
It is. Brett's written Kircher. It's Mott McDonald now.
So it's
So,
not Kircher, it's a
It's not
different company.
Kircher.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much.
And Mr. Morris, if you look at the way he's written this here, Kircher Group, a Mott McDonald company.
I'm sorry.
If you look at the way the PO is written, it's the
Oh, yeah,
Kircher
I know. I
Group,
was
a
just
Mott McDonald
I was
company.
just referring to the comment here, the way the motion was made.
Okay, so there are no other items on the agenda. So sad to say, this meeting is coming to a close. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming, and thank you all for listening.